Good evening and welcome to Take 2 by Exposition Pictures. I am Abhikendu and tonight with us we have someone whose upcoming film Indoo Ki Jawaani featuring Kiara Advani, Aditya Seal, Malika Dua has already started creating a buzz with their super hit track Hasina Pagal Diwani. He has been involved in the process of filmmaking and screenwriting for over 10 years. He has written for crime shows like Surya the Super Cop, Savdhan India, and of course, CID. He has also written for reality shows like Emotional Atyachar, MTV Webbed. Venturing into the comedy space, he has written for FIR and Gutur Gu for Sony Sub. He's already made his first feature film in Bengali, Jomer Raja Dilo Bor. Currently, his short film Soulsathi is streaming on Eros Now, and a web series Pati Patni Aur Panga is on the cards very soon for MX Player. Please welcome the versatile and talented filmmaker Abir Sengupta. Good evening, Abir. How are you?
Good evening, Abhikendu. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Things have been a little slow, but now it's looking all bright and happy.
That's great. So you've been the episode writer for CID. Now I believe that you would have been required to continue the flow from the previous episodes. So how do you ensure that the continuity in the story does not break, and how much of the research actually goes into the scripting of CID episodes?
Actually, in terms of writing CID, I was not that. I was very lucky, I would say, that I didn't have to actually continue any kind of story. I had to completely give a new story and conclude it myself. So I was the stories that I wrote for CID or for Surya or for even Savdhan India, the crime shows that I write. Um, they were all completely stories written by me, thought by me, and concluded by me. So nobody had to carry them forward, and I didn't have to carry anybody's story forward. So, and that was, I think, the beauty of the episodic format, because all these shows were all episodic formats. Like every episode, there was one story. So, and there used to be a lot of writers. There's still a lot of writers writing it. So, I think that was there. But yes, research, I would say, is one of the major part of writing any crime shows, or even emotional attachar for that matter.
Mhm.
We used to do a lot of research. We used to like read a lot of news articles, and we used to talk to journalists and dig in more and more information of what happened around the case. And then we used to kind of dramatize it to make it a little viewing palatable, in terms of ek ghanta agar, like when you see a news on a news channel, they can even like give you the entire matter in 5 minutes, and you're still interested. But for a episodic show, you need to get the audience hooked for a long time, and that requires a lot more detail, that requires a lot more research. So yeah, so that was there.
Yeah, but now that you mentioned emotional atyachar, so that is in the reality space, right? So that's a little different from the fictionalized stories of CID and Savdhan India. So how different was the challenge of writing for reality shows?
Actually, Emotional Atyachar, the first three seasons were reality. And
Okay.
from the fourth season, they started dramatizing the real stories. Like, we used to take the real story, we used to meet the real people, we used to get their stories, and then we would do a, जिसको आप जैसे news channel में आप देखते हो नाट्य रूपांतरण होता है.
Yeah.
So that in the same way, we used to cast actors to play those roles, and then we used to tell the stories in a more dramatized way. So I actually came in Emotional Atyachar season 4. I was
Okay.
not there till Emotional Atyachar season 3. So I actually missed the whole reality show part, and I came in when the fiction part started.
Oh, that's interesting to know because I always believed that Emotional Atyachar was a reality show, but I didn't know that the format changed in season 4. So yeah,
Yes, it did.
yeah. But I also came across your LinkedIn profile where you've mentioned that you directed the making of the film Fas Gaya Re Obama. So I'm really intrigued to know how this process of filmmaking differs from the clutter of documentaries. Of course, that like keeping aside the purpose of the two forms, that one is a making while the other is a documentary, but both of them are shot in somewhat a documentary style filmmaking. So if you could let me know the process.
Phas Gaya Obama, there were parts of the film that I did the making. I shot the making. I kind of did the editing of the making. Uh, so basically, that time I was very new in Mumbai. I had just landed in Bombay a couple of months ago, and I met this person called Naren Kumar, who was the executive producer of Phas Gaya Obama,
Mhm.
and I knew Subhash Kapoor from much before, the director of that film,
Yes.
and I actually met them, and then I told them that I want to work in movies, and that's when they were finishing the shoot of Phas Gaya Obama. A couple of days were left, and a couple of things were left, and that's when they said that, why don't you join us and observe and do stuff and do help us out in various things. You'll get to learn and all of that. So it was kind of so one day Subhashi just called me and he said that tomorrow and day after we are shooting a song and we're shooting some sequences. Why don't you get a camera and come and shoot the making? And it was just given to me. I didn't actually ask for it. So, and I was like, okay, that'll be fun, because as the making guy, I'd be allowed to go into anywhere and everywhere and shoot the whole thing and do whatever. So it was a great time to observe and record and then rewatch it and understand what actually happens, and right from behind the scenes to how the actors what is their process, what is the director's process. So that was actually a blessing in disguise, I would say, that when I actually took this camera and I started shooting the making, I actually covered each and every facet of filmmaking on the set. And that really fascinated me. And I was like, I want to be here. Uh, when you actually interact with the actors, the director, the cinematographer, the choreographer, the assistants, the light boys, spot boys, and everything, you kind of get a clarity what you want to do in life, right? So I kind of also got a clarity that, I want to be at this place where I also want to, tell a story and tell different technicians what I want and how to do it. And it was quite fascinating. So yeah, and I think that was one of the major turning point in my head, that I decided that I also want to tell stories, and I also want to make films, direct films. So yeah.
Right. So if I'm not wrong, this making of Phas Gaya Obama led you to explore the different arenas of filmmaking on set, and thereafter you got some vision in your career.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Right.
not just the shooting of that making, but even after that, when I went to the editing table and when I put all of that together, when I
Mhm.
sat with the editor and we put everything together, and whatever I'd shot, was I had shot like a madman. I had shot everything possible.
Mhm.
So, and after that, when we put it together in the edit, and when the director saw the cut of the making that we did, he was really happy. I still remember the day when Subhaji smiled at me and he told me it's looking good. And I was like, oh, okay, so I did a good job then. So I was very happy within myself that, okay, the director was happy with my job. And that's when I realized that what did I do? I actually shot something, I edited something, and I showed it to somebody who envisioned it. So I realized that I would want to do this further. But then I realized to shoot something, I need to write something first. So that's how I went back to my writing pad and I started writing stories.
Right. But for this making behind the scenes clippings, etc., you told me that you shot like a madman. But was there an outline or like the few pointers that yes, this is something which I'll shoot while the people are busy on set, or you just candidly shot everything, anything and everything out over there, and thereafter there was funneling and the final edit.
I actually candidly shot everything of Hindu. I didn't actually have a plan that day. I just had a camera and I knew that I don't want to even sit for a second, and I want to be there on the set and explore I was actually uh, very scared that I shouldn't miss out on anything. So I kind of shot everything, whatever was around me and whatever I could dig out and everything. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Now coming to your first feature film, like most filmmakers tend to work in regional content first and then try to shift base to Bombay. But for you, it has actually been the opposite. So, how did the desire of directing your first feature film, Jomer Raja Dilo Bor, in Bengali, come to your mind?
So I was in Bombay from 2009, and whenever a Bengali film used to release in Mumbai, I used to be one of those first day first show audiences to the theaters, and because that was I used to hear the language, I used to see the kind of food that the actors are eating in the scenes, and the kind of houses they live in, because it was all nostalgia, right? The entire experience of watching a Bengali film was not just a film viewing experience, but also nostalgia. And I was so taken by the whole thing that I always used to think that, I also want to make a Bengali film one day. It was just a desire from day one. I never thought that my first film would be a Bengali film, but I always wanted to make a Bengali film. So I think that desire was so strong that the first film that I wrote was a Bengali film. And I luckily found producers to and I luckily found producers in Mumbai, sitting in Bombay, to produce the Bengali film. And that's how actually it happened. So I actually don't have a logical reasoning to the whole thing. I think it was a desire which just fell into place.
Yeah, I think you collaborated with Anushri Mehta for this film, right?
Yes, so Anushri is also my business partner. We have a company together called Jadugar Films.
Jadugar, Jadugar Films.
So yeah, we like the other show that you mentioned, Pati Patni Aur Panga.
Yeah,
It also has been produced by both of us, Jadugar Films, and I have written and directed it.
yeah,
Then the short film that released, Soulsathi, was also line produced by Jadugar Films, and she's also the creative producer on that.
yeah.
So we both work together, and we have a company together. So that was the first project that we did as a production house. We founded our production house from that film, and we decided that we want to do this our entire life.
Yeah. Just an additional point, I just want to mention that when I was in Bangalore for 2 years, I was working in TCS. So over there, I was lucky enough that Bangalore had a few theaters where the Bengali films used to release. So I was also your kind, where I would probably go for a first day first show kind of a screening and then join office. So yeah, I can totally relate with that. The culture and the
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely. There were actually times when a few films released in Bengal, but they didn't release in Bangalore or Bombay. So I used to wait for a digital release of the same, because obviously there's no scope to go and watch it in the theaters at that point of time. So
Yeah, and I think the cherry on the cake used to be the Durga Puja time, wherein you want to be like, I want to go to Kolkata, or I want to go to my hometown, and I want to be there, and I want to like give adda with people and eat the best of snacks, and so those moments really make you nostalgic, and you're like, I want to go to
yes,
Calcutta and make films. I think the desire of going to Calcutta and making a film was uh, not just the storytelling part. It was covered with a lot of homecoming, the feeling of homecoming also. So that was the reason actually, maybe.
right. Now, from there to your current upcoming film, Indoo Ki Jawaani, it's scheduled to release sometime. It was scheduled to release sometime in June this year. However, the pandemic, we all know, has brought everything to a halt. So, are there any plans of a theatrical release, or will it be seen directly on OTT?
So it completely depends, Vikendu. I don't know as of yet, because I think it's the producer's decision what they want to do and how they
Mhm.
want to take the release. And I think they're very like they really like the film and they really feel for the film. So I think whatever decision they will take will be in the best of the film's this thing. So and as of now, because we don't know when the theaters are going to open, we don't know what's the scenario. So I think it's difficult to say anything, but probably in a month or two, when we actually the scenario is more clearer, that when the theaters are going to release or whatever, if the theaters take time, obviously there will be no option but to put the film across to OTT, I guess. Uh, but if the theaters open, maybe we could stand a chance. Who knows? So
Yeah.
we're just taking one day at a time, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, coming to this issue of release of films in theaters versus OTT, uh, how do you think that the pandemic will impact the box office collections at large? Not limiting to your film only, but the overall films which are going to be released once the theater opens?
I think, see, for some time it will be a 50-50 is what I think. There will be people who would be like, okay, I don't care. I want to go to a theater. I want to go and enjoy. I want to have a good time. But there will also be those people who will be like, no, let's take it slow. Probably not now. We don't want to step out. We don't want to catch COVID. We don't want to, we want to maintain social distancing. So I think it's a very personalized thing also, because see, it's always safe to maintain social distance. It's always safe to take your protection and all of that. But looking at how the countrymen are out on the streets and out there everywhere, it's really difficult to actually gauge whether they would actually come into the theaters also, or they would not. So it definitely will affect the box office for some time, I think, for some time, but not for long.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. And on the contrary, that, well, like we all know that the OTT space in the field of entertainment has taken a huge leap during the pandemic. Like, people have been registering, signing up for a lot of OTT platforms and have been consuming content every day. So while you've been working on web shows like Pati Patni Aur Panga for MX Player and Soulsathi for Eros Now, I want to know your take on the direct to OTT release format, especially for commercial movies. For example, Lakshmi Bomb or Sarak 2. Because they will have an impact of the entire cinematic larger than life experience of those films will only be experienced in the theaters. uh, but again, there's a risk of the pandemic affecting you in the theater. So how do you think this is going to challenge and come out?
I think once the theaters open, it will again get a real balance in the whole ecosystem of the movies coming out on the OTT platforms also. Because I think the films that really released on the OTT platforms were all ready, and they were all ready to see the light of the day. But obviously, it was an uncertain time, so those filmmakers probably decided that they don't want to wait for such a long time and for the theaters to open and then the films releasing those films.
Mhm.
That's why they put the films out there. It was, I think, not because of a direct to OTT release, because okay, they now don't want to go to the theater, or and nothing like that. I think it's always uh, the current times that tell you, like, अगर मेरे घर पे अगर बाहर कर्फ्यू लगा हुआ है, तो मैं घर से बाहर नहीं निकलूंगा.
Mhm.
So it's the same thing that अगर मैं रिलीज नहीं कर सकता थिएटर्स में, तो मैं OTT पे रिलीज करूंगा, because I want my work to show to people. And so that's I think that is the primary reason. But in times to come, I think OTT will become a huge medium for a lot of filmmakers to showcase their work. Because when TV came in the late 80s, early 90s, and uh, I remember a lot of filmmakers, they came on TV, and like Basu Chatterjee made Boom Ki Bakshi, you know Gulzar Saab made Mirza Ghalib. So a lot of filmmakers, a lot of people came into the world of TV, and they actually used that medium to tell stories which probably they were not being able to tell through movies. So I think OTT will also become that medium wherein it will give a huge platform to a lot of people. Because on OTT platforms, it's like on a film's release on a Friday, and you can't release like too many films on a Friday, because then people get confused. कौन सी film देखे theater में.
Right.
But OTT is like, you can release 10 films a day,
Yeah.
and it's all there in the library. Nobody's going to take them off. So you can always go back and watch the film. So and the kind of exposure that today's people are getting, like right now, I would say that anybody and everybody can be a filmmaker. Because अगर आपके पास कहानी है बोलने के लिए, आपके पास एक मोबाइल फोन भी है, आप उस पे भी शूट करके, you have all these cool editing apps right now also available on your phone also, that you can put everything together. You can make a film in absolutely no cost and put it out there.
Yeah.
And I think OTT platforms are all there to take that content and show it to the world. So it's definitely a rising medium.
Yes, it's absolutely a rising medium. But do you think this direct OTT release format is sustainable? Like, given that you mentioned that this is kind of temporary, and because the theaters are not opening up, the films which were ready are kind of coming up. But once theater opens, there is a challenge between the convenience part of from the audience versus the theatrical experience, if I'm not wrong. So, do you think this will go on for long, or this is just a temporary phase because theaters are closed?
So for the films that actually released, that was definitely because of the pandemic. But I think this is going to sustain. There will be a lot of filmmakers who will make films for direct OTT releases. There will be like not just newer actors. There will be like bigger stars also. They would want to get into the OTT format, and they would want to star in a film which has which goes directly on OTT. So I think people are nowadays very open. People just want to see good content. They want to be in good content. They want to the actors want to act in good content. The directors want to direct good content. So I think content is somewhere that will drive everything. And the content will decide. If the content decides that, okay, I want to go to an OTT because I'm not in that nature of a film wherein people would spend like so much money to come to the theaters to watch me, then people would actually sit at home and watch me. So I think it's the content which will tell the filmmakers whether आप मुझे डालो कहाँ पे, theater में डालो या OTT में डालो.
Right. And coming to the final question, we'll wrap this up. Indoo Ki Jawaani, what stage is it at right now?
So we are in the post-production stage right now, and a lot of it has been done, and some parts of it is left because obviously we couldn't like really work the way we used to before the pandemic. So the pandemic really slowed us down, and everything just got really pushed further. But now I think in very soon I'll be able to finish the film, complete the film, and then we'll gear up for a release and see where it goes.
Right. And so, how is the editing and the dubbing being processed? Like, is it in a studio or remotely? Are you controlling everything?
So dubbing is still going on,
Okay.
and we are doing it obviously in the studio because we'll not be able to dub it remotely. But editing mostly was done remotely only because my editor was editing from his home. He used to send me stuff. I used to view them. I used to give him feedback. We used to discuss over the phone and video calls, and that's how actually the editing of the film was done. It wasn't like it's my first Hindi film, and I always wanted to sit with the editor and do the whole and be through the whole process, but I couldn't do it in this because and it's the pandemic which like क्या बोलते हैं उसने हम मुझे और मेरे एडिटर को completely जुदा कर दिया एक दूसरे से and लेकिन thanks to the Zoom calls and video calls that we actually managed to be in sync and finish the edit. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And how was the experience of working with this unconventional pairing of Aditya Seal and Kiara Advani? And you also have Malika Dua, who is a stand-up comedian now venturing into the film space. So how was the experience of working with all of these people?
Lovely, yeah. I think I was very lucky to find great people for my film, not just the actors, but the crew and technicians also. Um, I think they all are very good people. They all are very passionate towards telling stories and making movies. And we were all a bunch of young boys and girls who it felt like हम सब college वाले लोग हैं जो अपनी वो diploma film बनाने के लिए निकले हुए हैं. So it was a bunch of passionate people making a film together. So it just didn't feel that we were working. It felt like we were actually on a fun journey and having great times and telling a story which we all believe in.
Right, and thankfully this happened before the pandemic hit us. Otherwise, we
Yes.
would all been conscious कि कहीं corona नहीं हो जाए, कहीं corona नहीं हो जाए. That fun factor would have been reduced. But yeah, anyway,
Absolutely.
yeah. Anyway, all the best for your upcoming film. I already was watching a few promos and clippings from the film. The song which is released has already had millions and millions of views. Of course, it's by TC,
Right.
and you have the biggest subscriber base over there. So hopefully
Right.
you'll get a good theatrical release. We all will go flock to the theaters and watch the film. So yeah, that's about it. All the best
Yes.
for future ventures. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhikendu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, please like, share, and subscribe to Exposition Pictures on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.